South Carolina does it again. They beat another top 10 team, this time Clemson, snapping a 40-game home win streak against any opponent in Death Valley. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Slasher U. I'm your host, Christian Rao, here with my co-host, Steve Feck, and we're going to break down the 31-30 final of South Carolina defeating Clemson. Steve, last week we talked about South Carolina beating Tennessee. We talked about how this team really looked good. Obviously, Hendon Hooker went down in that game, but we talked about the peaks and valleys and the crazy ups and downs of Spencer Rattler. Well, we had a little bit of that in this game too. He threw 2 interceptions, but he found a way to throw 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, and get his team in position to win 31-30. This team under Shane Beamer is now 8-4. They find themselves ranked, and this is a team that at one point we thought was going to be at the bottom of the SEC. They're on the rise, and I would watch out for the next few years under Beamer. This team looks pretty dang good.
Yeah, I just didn't expect it this year. I did not. I mean, bowl eligibility, I think everybody thought, well, there's a chance, at that. But I don't think anybody saw this coming. And it's funny because what does this say about the ACC now? Clemson has been the beacon, the shining light for that conference for so long now. And now they're just sort of coming back down to earth. So who's there to pick up the mantle? I don't know that, there was always like the Florida States were really good. So, but then Clemson became good. Who's going to be that team in the ACC anymore?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions in the ACC right now. Clemson obviously still undefeated in the conference, but do have a loss to Notre Dame, which is like an honorary ACC everywhere else other than football, and the loss to South Carolina, which is a huge loss. That might even be a bigger loss than losing to an ACC opponent right now because of location on rivalry week. And obviously gets them completely out of all conversations of maybe possibly making the college football playoffs. It was already a long shot before the South Carolina loss. It's a complete no doubt not happening in this one. They'll probably still get a good bowl, still 10-2. We'll see them during an NY6 bowl, no doubt about it. But yeah, you look at it. I mean, the ACC had a lot of question marks. We were talking excitement about Syracuse at one point. They finished the season 7-5. At Florida State looked great for the majority of the year, but they still were 9-3. North Carolina found a way to only go 9-3. They had a really crappy way to end the year. Pitt looked good last year. They were 8-4 this year. Honestly, I think that's probably a little better than I expected Pitt to be, honestly, this year. So 8-4 is not too bad. Yeah, there's not a team that sticks out to you that says this team is going to be really good. Maybe if NC State doesn't have the injury bug, maybe we're talking about them more. Who knows? Because they went 8-4, but if they would have had Leary, maybe they were a 10-2 team. We don't know, right? We're not sure if that's the case. Regardless, this ACC is in trouble. What that says about the SEC is what everybody knows. The SEC is absolutely loaded. When you bring Oklahoma and Texas to the mix, I think it's only going to be better. They're just going to absorb right in. Texas and Oklahoma. I don't think you're going to see Texas and Oklahoma at the top echelon of the SEC. I think they're going to be battling with South Carolina's and Ole Miss's and Kentucky's and things like that. I think that they're going to still find a way to struggle with Georgia, with Alabama, with teams like that, Tennessee even, because this conference is so dang jacked. I feel bad for Vanderbilt because they're getting some good wins now, but they're not going to make that next step forward. With South Carolina, though, what they did is they completely turned this program around, and they have built the culture that was absolutely needed to do what they have to do. 8-4 is amazing. It is immaculate for this season, and it's exactly what they need. Now, if you could find a win to add a bowl win on top of that, while you're in the middle of your transfer window, I think you're going to see a lot of transfers coming to South Carolina. I think we're going to be talking about South Carolina in the previews coming up this season and talking how we think that they have a good shot at being one of those teams that we see ranked all season long, maybe battling for a spot in SEC championship. Maybe they're the next year's LSU squad even. Like I could see that being a potential for a conversation piece because they are on the rise. And I don't know if there's many other teams that are on that same type of path compared to what the Gamecocks are looking like right now, Steve.
Yeah, I think on the defensive side of the ball, I think they're going to be looking good going into next year as well. I wonder, do they actively recruit a quarterback to come in to maybe make that team 10-2 next year? I mean, I think that's a huge leap personally to go, but we said that about LSU too. They can't possibly be that good, and look how that turned out for them. Now, South Carolina, real loyal fan base, but I think they just get dwarfed by too many schools. And I don't know now that they can kind of sneak under the radar, sort of like they did this year. Now it's going to be like, you've got to pay attention to South Carolina rather than, well, South Carolina's got some talented players and, any given week, blah, 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 SEC press conferences. But I think now, you're going to see them talking a lot less about SEC in pleasant terms and saying, hey, this is a team you've got to take for real. Every weekend, they're going to give you the best effort. And I think that's happened the last 2 years. They've given, even in losses, they've given everything they have, and they've left it out there on the field.
What do you think about South Carolina? Do you think this is a team that's really building their culture up? They're in the right path? Or do you think this is a fluke season? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to hit like and subscribe while you're there. And as always, thank you so much for watching SlasherU.